Welcome everyone, I'm on my way to go and see a new project. It's about 40 minutes away from me. It's a KLX 250 2009. It's got 3,000 miles on it and it needs a whole lot of work doing on it. So I'm going to go meet the guy and see if we can make a deal and see if it's worth my time. Straight away it's obvious this bike has seen better days. It's old, it's seriously crusty, and I have a feeling there's going to be plenty of issues hiding beneath the surface. Thankfully it does run, although it's a bit boggy, so that's something we'll have to investigate later on. That said, with only 3,000 miles on the clock, I still think it's a pretty good buy. There's a fair bit of cosmetic work ahead, but the bones seem to be there. Well, it's a done deal. He put it up for 1,400 quid, I said 1,200, and he was okay with that, but after looking at it, actually, I've offered him 1,000 and kind of bartered a little bit, but he understands why I have to offer him that. There's a lot of work, which I'll show you in a sec. For anyone new here, this is pretty much what I enjoy doing. I like finding older bikes that have been sitting unused for years and giving them a second chance, as it were. Sometimes they just need a little bit of TLC, and other times, you know, they turn into much bigger projects than I ever expected. The aim isn't really to carry out a full nut and bolt restoration. This is more about bringing back these bikes back to a safe, reliable and usable condition so they can get back out there on the road where they belong. There's something a bit sad about seeing old bikes left to rust away in the corner of a shed, especially when most of them have plenty of life in them. If I can make a bit of money along the way, then it's a bonus, but if I don't, then at least I've learned something along the way. So it's all good either way. What do you think about the bike? What do you think? You like it? No. And that was Elby. He might look like a dog, but he's actually the chief inspector. It's his job to carry out all the important quality assurance checks and make sure any bikes I'm about to buy are actually worth saving. He's a man of few words, but if he gives his approval, that's good enough for me. Do you like the bike? What do you think? It's good, isn't it? Before I start pulling anything apart, I like to give the bike a proper wash, get rid of all that build-up of dirt and grime. It makes working on it a lot more pleasant, and it makes it much easier to spot what's actually damaged and what just looks rough because it's filthy.
1 hour later.
It's one of those jobs that pays off later on, and as the dirt starts coming off, you can kind of get a first glimpse of what the bike could look like once it's brought back to life. We've still got a long way to go, but I think it's a good start, so let's carry on from there. One thing I'm also going to do is just keep a running total of what I'm spending on this project, so you can get an idea and see what sort of profit we can make. Most of the issues here are purely cosmetic, to be honest. We've got a lot of rust and a lot of faded plastic over here. More rust on the bottom here as well. I think we're going to do a full overhaul of the braking systems, potentially get some new tyres on it as well. The forks are in really good condition as well, not leaking or anything, so I've lucked out there a little bit as well. The radiator's great, engine seems to be fine, just a bit of rust, and the seat does have a little bit of a tear in it here. There was actually mould growing out of this, so I'm going to have to re-upholster the seat. There's some bolts that are rusty as well, you can see up on here. Nothing dramatic, just mostly cosmetic. The sight glass here for the brakes, that is very broken. Now I'm making it leak, which is great. So that needs to be changed. Otherwise, it's as I said, it's mostly cosmetic. All the suspension seems to work fine. I might just need to have a little touch up on that. The exhaust is in really good condition, considering the age as well. I've checked all the VIN, the engine number, and everything's fine. It's all good, really. We have got a leak currently forming, and that is purely from the braking system, which is that sight glass that I just looked at. One tip I definitely recommend is to keep a running parts list as you're taking the bike apart and cleaning everything up. It's really easy to think, oh well, I'll remember that, but by the time you've actually finished for the day, you'll have forgotten half of what you need. I find it's much better to write everything down as you go and get these parts ordered as early as possible. While you're getting on with the cleaning, repairs and everything else, the new parts can be making their way to you. Then, when it's time to put the bike back together, you're not stuck waiting for deliveries and nothing left to do. It keeps the whole project moving and makes the whole workflow a lot smoother. It could be better if we could get it out. Go crazy right about now. It probably goes without saying, but this bike is going to need a full service before it goes anywhere near the road again. That means fresh oil, a new oil filter and full coolant change. Even though the mileage is low, fluids that have been sitting for over 10 years are never a good thing. They break down over time, and you don't want to take any chances with that kind of neglect hidden inside the engine. So everything will get swapped out for fresh fluids to make sure it's all running as it should and to avoid any nasty surprises down the line. Yeah, a little bit crusty. I was definitely starting to see some aging going on here. Let's give the battery a quick check. It's a Powerline PTX7L-BS, which I don't know anything about, to be honest. See what we're getting. Hopefully we should be 12. Over 12 would be nice. Oh dear. Oh god. It's just even getting worse, isn't it? I think my shopping list is getting bigger and bigger for this. And this would probably explain why it had such a slow start. That's a bit poor. I'll try and give it a charge and see what we can get, but I think I'm going to have to buy a new battery, to be honest, because that's not going to cut it.
Brother,
There you go. You can see where this was a bit loose. Someone's tried to put a bit of insulation tape here. It really worked out for them that well. I think these grips have taken a bit of a beating from the sun. Oh no, that's going to strip. These are quite on here. There you go. Bit of impact does the job. Threads are great, it's just the head itself is super rusty. There we go. There we go. Sometimes these can be a bugger. You have to use the right screws as well, JIS. You get a lot of people using Torx instead of JIS and they end up stripping these, but luckily these do appear to be relatively unmolested. Probably the easiest thing to do. It's the kindest thing you can do for these. Lovely. Go. Do it. That's not reverse threaded. That's pointless. Looking at the fuel tank, it's actually surprisingly clean in there. I thought it'd be quite a bit rusted, but it's pretty much spotless, which is great. Oh, those just slid off nice and easy. Great. Come on, you bastard.
How long is this going to take?
There you go. Okay. Thing I do want to test is the fan, as I didn't get verification of that. I didn't want to leave the bike on too long because it was getting, it's got the old oil in it and I didn't know the condition of that, so I didn't wait to see if the fan turned on. So I'm going to just quickly test it now. The way I'm going to do that is this is the connection from the wiring loom to the fan. This is the actual fan connection here, negative, positive, although it doesn't really matter. It's just going to proof of concept to see if it actually turns on. It does appear to be free, but I just want to check. So I've got my transformer here and I hooked it up at 12 volts, 5 amps. That should be more than enough for this fan. So if I press the start button, we should see it start. Yep, there you go. One important thing to note when you're playing around with things like this is don't mess up the voltage. I could have used the battery, but the battery is just too low voltage. It's not going to even turn the thing on. Keep to 12 volts. 12 to 13 volts is your sort of sweet spot for these sort of systems. You don't want to go too much over because it's the voltage that actually can kill the component. Current is not so much of a factor to a certain degree, but as long as you read the actual unit, I can see here it says 12 volts, and you can reasonably assume sort of 2 to 10 amps for a motorcycle fan like this. But don't go over with your voltage because that will destroy the component and you'll be buying a new one, which is not fun. That, I'm pretty sure, is a weep hole, and it shouldn't be that crusty because if you get water down in the spark plug, you need a way of ejecting that water, otherwise it sits in the threads and that's how you get rusty spark plug threads. So that's not ideal. That's been blocked, but hopefully nothing too serious. Let's see what we can see with the spark plug anyway. I'll assume it's 5/8 as they usually are. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, that was very loose. Ooh. Ooh, that's not good, is it? That's been burning rather rich. Don't know if you can see that. Focus. You can see that's been burning extremely rich, and I think we are at least due for a spark plug upgrade. I did notice during the test ride it was a bit boggy down low, and got better as you opened it up, but it might have been just the spark plug misfiring. This is NGK Iridium, at least, CR8. I wonder what we're going to find in the airbox. It's probably not going to be the nicest looking thing. Right, let's have a look at this then, shall we? Okay. They don't like a lot of air going in these things, do they? Well, it is oiled. Okay. Let's see what we're dealing with then, shall we? Yeah, I mean it's well oiled, to be fair. It's just yeah, it's a little bit old, I think, to be honest. Yeah, look, you can see the foam's just breaking apart as I'm going through it. Some bits are okay, but I think it's overdue a replacement, so I will make sure that happens. There you go. How many people are going to be shouting at me for not supporting the brake caliper? I'm sorry, but it's not going to do anything. Not crunchy, no movement, nice and smooth, considering they're quite old. Can help. That needed some force on it. Good. That was a bit tighter. I have a feeling this whole reservoir is going to need to be changed, to be honest. But let's see. You never know. It might be salvageable. I mean, just look at that. It's pretty bad. So I think it's a good thing we're changing this. Not great. You can see why we need to change it. I mean, I've never seen this before. I mean, look at it. It's literally become. How has this happened? How has this happened? Nice. While I'm here, might as well check the oil filter as well, as I'll be changing this anyway, so. Don't see any little metal flakes or anything in there. Yeah, it's nice and clean. I did want to take a quick peek in the rear reservoir while I'm here as well. So you get that initial crack, it's fine as long as you. There you go. We'll find out soon. Oh, there it is. There it is. Not terrible, but not great either. You can see at various points you've got kinks here. It's just not worth saving. It's so caked up in grime you can't even find where the split is. I think I can just about see it there. Absolutely caked. There you go, I can just about see it now. I can probably take that off. Probably actually makes sense to rotate this. There you go, got it. There you go, that's it. That was fun, and it comes off nice and easy now after doing that. Nice one. I think we need to get this wheel off ideally. Okay, it's off. What I've done here is stick a screwdriver through the chain, loop itself on the back axle, and then that gives you somewhere to actually hold on to the chain when you're undoing this, because these are a pain in the arse to get off. You have to give it a bit of an impact as well. I'd love to sit here and say that was easy, but that was easily one of the most difficult nuts to take off. But with a bit of heat, persuasion, locking it to the back axle, I eventually got it with a long breaker bar. Yeah, man, that was tough. At least I can take this off now, which is nice. Oh, that is still warm. Yeah, they do not make those easier to take off. I tell you, I suppose it's a good thing because you don't really want your front sprocket to be coming off, do you? Oh, God. Right, there you go. Chain off. Get it? A bit loose, but okay. Definitely needed some lubrication. So these should just pop out now. There you go. Nice. Got it.
Nice.
There. Get a nice clean side, push it in. So that's seated in place now. You get a little bit of copper grease in there. I'm going to try and stick it through here. So I push down, there you go. Same thing as before. You just got to push it through, and then this side, push it through. Just a colour, right? Just to know, I also put a washer on the fastener on here, the bit that sort of screws everything on, because I was afraid it would cut the foam at some point, so you can't see it, but there is a washer protecting that foam. If you're wondering why I took the starter motor cover off, it's because there was a little leak coming out of the bottom of this, but I gave it a little clean up and just checked the condition, and yeah, just gave it a general clean up and resealed everything, and after that the leak had disappeared, so that was all good. Truthfully, I was also a little bit curious, as the starter was a little bit weak when I first tried to actually start the bike when I picked it up. What that transpires to be is more of a dead battery than anything, so it kind of put my mind at ease just to check it, just to make sure everything was fine. What I'm doing here is putting a dab of grease on the filter spring so it can hold it in place while I put the filter in. Just makes the installation a lot easier, as it's a little bit awkward to try and compress everything down when you have a floating spring that won't stay there. I didn't show it in the video, but I did check the spark plug gap. You should always check your gap before installing, just to make sure it's the right spec. The next portion of this video shows a small portion of the rust prevention and basically just cleaning up the entire frame. It would be way too much to record and try and put under one video, so I've done you a favour here, to be honest, even though there's quite a bit of footage doing this anyway. But yeah, I went through the whole frame, everything I could find, and got rid of every bit of rust and put some preventative fluid on it. Just so people don't get mad, this bit is going to be hidden, so I'm just doing a bit of rust prevention and making it look a little bit nicer than it did, which I'm sure you can agree it looks a hell of a lot better than rust. As I said, no one's ever going to really see this unless they take the seat off, so me doing this is relatively pointless, but I think it does look a lot better, even if it is just literally a paintbrush. Like guys, I do get it if you absolutely hate this. I don't blame you. I don't particularly like it. But you've got to understand, I'm not going to take everything off this frame and paint it. It's not that type of job. This is not a full restoration. This is getting an old bike back on the road again. So no, it's not perfect, but the other thing you can do to try and sort of minimize the impact is just feather in all the edges, just to try and get that sort of equal blend between the original frame color and the new frame color. I mean, they are very similar, it's just trying to make that blend can be a bit difficult if you're just sort of slapping on paint, so you've got to try and blend it to a certain degree. Easier said than done. I'd quite honestly say this was one of the worst kickstands I've ever seen in terms of rust. I mean, it wasn't anything structural, it was purely cosmetic, but it was just literally caked in orange. I mean, arguably I could sit here and spray paint this, make it look really, really nice, but guys, it's a kickstand, you know? It's not, this is going to be ridden in the dirt, like, it's just going to get absolutely filthy again, but at least it won't be rusty, and at least it won't, you know, compromise the integrity after a while, because it's got some level of protection now, again. If you do want, you know, one of those sort of restoration videos, I can do it. I've done it before, a full sort of restoration on many bikes before, but it's a lot more work than just simply sort of fixing something up again for the road. So that would be a very detailed sort of series, I think. And the problem is, because of how long it takes, you know, I've got a full-time job. I don't have time to be doing that sort of thing. I need sort of quick turnaround projects so I can make a little bit of money at least and actually buy the new one, because these things are not free. The trickiest bit about this is just blending in those streak marks, because when this paint dries, it does dry pretty good and most of your streaks disappear. It's just that initial, you've got to sort of paint it, wait for it to get a tiny bit tacky, and then you can kind of brush away those streaks as much as possible, and when it dries it looks pretty seamless and it doesn't look like someone's just used a paintbrush. See how that sort of second pass really, I don't know if you can see the detail really, but it sort of massively starts to smooth out the surface. I spent a lot of time getting rid of the rust and corrosion here, and putting this rust treatment on has practically turned the whole thing black, because there was not really any real paint left over. So this is effectively a rust prevention and treatment method, and also just painting the frame. And again, I'm not going for perfection, because this is a place that gets a lot of abuse, and after 20 or so years I think this is well needed. And already you can see this look, you know, this looks 10 times better, even if it's a slightly different shade to the original frame paint. It just makes such a big difference. So I mean, I hope you can see the sort of difference it makes to the bike, just, you know, having a little bit of care and painting these bits. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it prevents that rust and it gets rid of that horrible frame look. You can see this part I haven't really done yet, which is quite bad. But you can see all of that was really horribly rusted. This was rusted. The kickstand was rusted horribly. This you won't even see, so I'm not too bothered about. The part of the frame up there was quite badly rusted as well. Overall, it just adds a nice sort of refresh to the frame and makes things look a little bit nicer, which I'm all for. I believe the spec on this is 32 Newton meters, and it has got locking threads on the nut, but I am going to go with a bit of thread locker, as I think most people would. What we'll do is just tighten these slightly in a crisscross pattern as well. Again, most of you probably already know this. Cool, it's all done. I've gone for a heavy duty X-ring here. Oh, that feels so much better than the last one. The last one was an absolute joke. This is just gliding on nicely. And the torque for this is a bit mad, 125 Newton meters. 80. Yeah, that's not worked. You know how I know that's not worked? Because it's absolutely destroyed my screwdriver. How about 2 screwdrivers? Gotcha. 125. Get a bit of grease on the shaft here.
Gay!
It's always a lot easier when you have a adjustable paddock stand. You can just get it exactly to the place you want it to, and then it's happy days. What I'll do is just wipe that grease off. Okay, I think that's just the right amount of links as well. I got pretty lucky here, to be fair. These packs always come with a bit of grease. I've got the main links over here. You have different ones for different applications. These ones are for mushrooming in, and these ones are for the split link over here. But you've got to put these oil seals on first. What I'm going to do is measure the width of these chain links here. That is 17.25 roughly. So our aim is to try and squeeze these links down now, so that we get to that magic number. So I think I've got that pretty much flush at the moment. It's not quite where it needs to be. We are 18.1 millimeter to go. Let's give it one more little nip up. There we go, tiny bit of movement. I reckon that'll do it. So, let's have a look. We are at 17.17. Yeah, pretty even. 17.15. Yep, all good. I'm happy with that. And you can see by doing that, the chain is still nice and free. There's no kinks or anything, so it's absolutely perfect. That's what you want. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is mushroom over these pins, again with the same kit here. Loosen that now. And that's it, done. Both of those are nicely mushroomed over. They are not going anywhere, and the chain moves nice and freely. So we're good to go. What I usually do is get it to a point where I'm happy on this side of the swing arm. Then I'll measure the distance between here and here of where this plate is sitting. It's looking at 24.29. Then what I'll do is just make sure this is a similar measurement. I was way off here, to be honest. Okay, we need to come in a little bit more now. Yeah, it's pretty much spot on. Just nipped up slightly. And what I've got here is just a simple chain alignment tool, so I'll take those measurements just so I know I'm spot on each side of the swing arm, but I like to check it just to make sure. So what I essentially do here is just line it up to my sprocket, because I know that's a nice flat surface, that's flat to the wheel. Once that's in there, you can extend this out and just pretty much eyeball it along the chain. It is very, very close. We want to move this arm that way, so the whole wheel needs to turn clockwise very slightly. What I'm going to do, because I'm happy with this length here, I'm going to adjust that one, so that needs to be pushed out slightly so that everything tilts that way. So I'm going to quickly do that. Yeah, that's spot on now. Only adjusted maybe a quarter of a turn that side, and now we're in line. So I'm happy with that. Nice. These are stainless steel bolts and I'm putting them onto an aluminium body, so I think I'm going to put a bit of copper grease here just to stop any corrosion in the future. I think I'll be saving whoever next has to take this apart a load of trouble. There you go, that is fucking tight as hell. Get a bit of grease on this. A really cool trick you can do is use hairspray to actually put these grips on, because it goes on wet and lubricated, and when it dries it is fully dry. That should slide on nicely, just like that. Alright, same with this one. Sure that's symmetrical, which it certainly is. It's also worth noting the stalks, the chrome stalks that are holding the mirrors up were actually a little bit rusted and pitted, so I cleaned them up and clear coated them as well. So that's not shown in the video, but it's just to show that a little bit more care has been taken on the mirrors as well, as they look a lot better now than they did. Be very careful here. Oil capacity is 1.5 litres when this is completely dry. I've got 10W40. These are 1 litre containers each, so if I'm aiming for 1.5 I can quickly just shove all that in there. Do need a tad bit more. Not sure how well you can see that, but the bike is pretty much level. That was about 1.2 litres of oil put in at the moment, so just slightly over the high mark, but once you turn over the engine, obviously that will be circulated through it, go through the oil filter as well, and then you'd probably need to put a tiny bit more oil in, so I'll check that once I start the bike, but yeah, 1.5 litres is the recommended amount. As usual, I'm making a mess, which is always great. This is the battery I've gone for. It's a Motobat MBT, but this is a slightly more expensive one, just because I didn't really want to go for super cheap, to be honest. You can get some cheap batteries for this, I think for like 24 quid, but I didn't think that was appropriate, to be honest, so I thought I'd go for something decent that'll last a much longer time. It's a sealed battery, and it should be ready straight out of the box, so I'm just going to do a quick voltage check on it and make sure it's okay, but I don't see why not. So hopefully you can see what's going on there, but let's have a look. Positive, negative. 12.489, perfect. I'll try not to bore you with all of this. Terminals are a little bit crusty, so I'm just giving them a bit of fresh metal to sit on. What we'll do is put a bit of dielectric grease in here. I mean, it's not technically required, it's just I think it's a good thing to have. Alright, there you go. First things first, let's have a look if it turns on. Lovely. Fuel pump is priming. 0 leaks from what I can see under there, where it attaches onto the system. Everything's looking good here, so let's see if we can get this started. Look at that. Easy. Let's have a look at that coolant. Yeah, let's have a look again. Just a note, I did have to top up the oil slightly. Understandably, it circulated around the engine, so I put another 200 millilitres in, and we're now sitting pretty much halfway in between, so I'll leave it for a little bit longer and I might top it up just to the top. While I'm putting all the plastics back together, it's also worth noting that I bought a little documents wallet pouch type thing for the bike. Just looks a lot better when you're trying to sell it, and it helps organise everything once you've got all the paperwork together, the service history and stuff. You'll probably notice I'm going a bit old school with pumping the brakes. I do intend to buy a reverse bleeding kit at some point just to make this a lot easier, because I appreciate the video doesn't quite show how long it really takes to actually do this properly and get rock solid brakes, and it's just one of those time consuming things really. So, oh yeah, we like those bubbles. I did separately restore and polish all the plastics after putting them on the bike. I didn't show that on the video because it's not that fun watching someone polish plastics, if I'm honest. So yeah, just rest assured that was done, and it looked a lot better once it was. So I think it's quite important for me to try and actually bleed the cooling system here. Oh, that was a bit weak. From what I can tell, we definitely need to top it up. Okay, so slight issue with the bike, something I should have really checked when I first got it, to be honest, but I didn't, and that's my fault, and I'm just going to have to deal with that. Basically, while I had it running just to get the cooling system bled out, I decided to check the voltage on the battery, and I was only getting around 12.6, 12.5 volts while it was running, and actually, when I revved it up, it only went up to sort of 12.7, and then to a certain RPM it actually started going down. So that would indicate to me that either the stator under here is shorting out or not functioning correctly, or the regulator rectifier is an issue on this one. So I need to do some testing. So I'm going to quickly get the cables off of these and do some testing to see if I can quickly figure out what's going on here. I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration. So I'm going to start the bike and I'm going to measure the voltage for you. Should be getting around 13.5 volts, anywhere between 13.5 and 15, but you'll see what I mean now. So as you can see, 12.8 volts, not good enough. 12.9. If I rev the bike out now, see, it actually drops. So it's dropping voltage when I rev the bike out, which is not great. Okay, so taking the main cable off the regulator rectifier, you've got 6 terminals here. The main ones to test the stator, which I'm going to do first, is these 3 wires up here, all these 3 yellow wires. It's a 3-phase system, so I'm going to test the resistance between each of these, and from the manual, looking at the manual, this is between 0.4 and 1 ohm I should be getting here. So testing in between them, I'm not sure if you can see this, I'll do 1 and 2 and I should get around that sort of reading. So that's 1 ohm. I'll do 1 and 3. Again, 1 ohm's fine. 2 and 3. Oh, not getting anything there. Try that again. There you go. 1 ohm. I'm getting exactly what I need to get here, so the resistance between the coils is all okay. Next thing I'm going to check is just continuity between ground and the coils, because if they've shorted out for any reason, we'll know about it by doing this test. So it's in continuity mode, so if I ground myself out on a bolt somewhere, I shouldn't be getting any continuity between these coils. Nothing. 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 You know, anywhere that's conductive I should be grounding out, which I am indeed, but I'm not grounding out on the stator windings anywhere, so that's quite good news. It means the stator's more than likely the good part here, and potentially it's just the regulator rectifier that's the issue. So I'll do a diode test next. Okay, so I've got the regulator rectifier off the bike, so I'm just going to do some voltage testing on this, or sorry, some diode testing on this. What I'm looking for really is consistent results here, so let's try it on the negative wire first. So 598, 594, 596, that's good because it's working. If I change the polarities now, I should be getting nothing on all of these. Okay, so that's okay that side. Let's try this side now. Okay, so 596, 588, 595. All similar. Change the polarities again, they should be getting nothing. Yeah, nothing. That's a good indication that the rectifier diodes are actually fine. So what could the issue be? I think the next step I need to do is check the voltage from the stators. So I'll have a look at that now. So what I'm doing is measuring alternating current from the stators directly between the coils, and I'm hoping to get over 40 volts, which I am, and as I rev the bike out, that is linearly going up, which is exactly what I'm getting. So that is good news. It means the stator is actually working fine, and I need to find the problem now. Okay, that proves the stator's fine. So I think the issue is most likely the regulator rectifier here, but I can't really be sure of that. So I think the best thing I can do at this stage right now is turn the bike on, have a look at the actual output voltage from the regulator rectifier and see what sort of figures I'm getting here and here, because it could be electrical resistance in the actual harness itself, which is causing it to not have enough oomph to get to the battery, as it were. So I'll test the voltage coming out of the regulator rectifier and see what sort of voltage I'm getting here, because I can't think of anything else that could be the issue here apart from this this rectifier, because everything's sort of pointing towards it, but the diodes are okay. So I am going to just check this and see what it actually is doing under load. So let's have a look. Oh, isn't this interesting? That is interesting indeed. So I'm actually getting the right voltage from my black and yellow and white pins here, but not at the battery. So I think I may either have a grounding issue or maybe there's some electrical resistance. So I'm going to do a bit of testing. Okay, I've spent the last sort of 20 minutes trying to find out where this voltage drop is. I looked at the white wire, I traced where that was going through over here. This is going to your main fuse for the solenoid, the starter solenoid. I cleaned all the connections on that. That has improved things. I started the bike up and we were getting about 13.3 volts, which is already really good at idle. And it doesn't get below sort of 13 volts when you put the revs on. So already we found some resistance in those terminals over there. I've put dielectric grease on the main negative terminals there, and also the ground I've taken off. That was relatively clean, so I don't think that was a problem. One thing I have found, the yellow and black wire coming off the regulator rectifier, that goes to the negative terminal here, which is obviously the negative side of the charging system. This then routes around here and then goes to these connectors, and I've just found this. These connections are absolutely filthy. They're caked, they're dirty, they've got grit and all sorts of stuff in them. So I'm going to have a clean of this and see what sort of results I get. But if I were a betting man, I would say that is the issue here, and that would have avoided a load of other work, which is a bit frustrating, but you know, that's electrical systems for you. Okay, so I've tightened up the rear axle bolt and put the split pin in, and that's all nice and that's all done now. I was just about to do the front axle, and I thought I would just show you how this is done. Well, this is the way I was always taught, so I'd be interested to see if anyone else has any other method, but there is a specific method you should do this. So get everything in place to where you need it to. What I then do is have everything nice and loose. I then tighten up this pinch bolt first. I make sure the axle is fully sort of seated on this side. Then I torque down this pinch bolt. Then I tighten the axle nut to spec. So I'll do that now. It's 88 Newton meters on this. So I've already set that on my torque wrench. I say torque wrench, it's a Clock Pro, but same thing. So what I'll do is quickly tighten that up now. There you go. So that's at 88 now. Once that is tightened, I engage these pinch bolts. So I'll quickly do that now. But these should be torqued down. Perfect. Once you've torqued these to spec and your axle nut, you've got this side basically locked in now, and we want to make sure that this is nice and in line with the other side, this part here. So loosen this, I've already done it, the one that you've just pinched, and then you'll probably notice, well, I don't know if you can notice that, but there is a tiny bit of movement here. So we want to basically center this leg with this leg now. So the way you typically do that is you can compress the suspension. Another sort of hack way of doing it is basically just locking it in place. What that does is that does change the orientation here of where this is sitting. Once you've done that, you can then do the pinch bolts here. Another way is by compressing the suspension, just getting that nice and lined up. And now, theoretically, that should be nice and all in line with the bike, so you shouldn't have any suspension issues and things like that. So now from there you can tighten these pinch bolts up and you can be done with it. And that's basically how I've been taught. I'd be interested to see if anyone else has another way of doing it. And before I get any comments, I do have a torque wrench for this. It's slightly different to the other one. It's just this goes from 10 Newton meters, the other one goes from 30, so it's a little bit different. Right, so a lot of work has actually gone on in the background to get this thing cleaned up, and a few little bits that you might not necessarily have seen, but it's pretty much done now. I've cleaned it all up, cleaned all the spokes up, checked the tension on all of them, everything's fine. It's pretty much all done. I can't see anywhere else that I would want to sort of change on it now. It's nice. All the plastics are restored. Everything's painted up, rust prevented. I've got new bolts for the majority of all of the fixings. It's all stainless. Braking system's done. Pretty much everything. The only thing I haven't really changed is the wheels, or the tyres, sorry. I just feel like there's not much of a gain in terms of the amount of money I'm going to be spending on actually changing them versus what I'll get when I come to sell the bike, because they are actually in okay condition. They just looked pretty grubby when I first got the bike, but since I've cleaned them up, you know, they're actually fine. They've got lots of life still left in them, so I don't want to change them just because I can. The only thing I need to do is really just the seat cover, which I'm still waiting for, which is a bit annoying. You can plan as much as you want, but it still won't happen. So once that comes in, I'll change the seat cover, but for now I've just bolted it in, and yeah, we're all good. I think the next shot will probably be me on the road, just doing a quick road test, and then yeah, we'll see how we go from there. Hold the clutch down. Well, it looks a lot better than it did. Much smoother on the clutch. Alright. Oh yeah, that feels so much nicer. Alright, we got a lovely running bike now. Yeah, that feels amazing. That feels so much better than it did not so long ago. Brakes are working good. Sounds good. Gear shifter's nice. All the gears are working. 4, 3, 2, 1. Sorry, there's 6 gears on this bike. Now that feels so good, honestly. No weird noises, super smooth, the engine's pulling nicely. Well, for a 250, it's not particularly, you know, powerful, but I've had 250s before. This has got slightly less horsepower than my Honda did, and now that feels really good. Cornering feels nice and smooth, no wobbling, it's nice and centered. Yeah, overall very happy with that. The suspension feels amazing. It feels really nice and smooth, and yeah, just super absorbing. A good bit of rebound as well. It's not a spring, which is what you want to avoid. No, I'm really happy with that. Yeah, that's all good. Well, all I can say is if you've gotten this far in the video, I do applaud you, because it's been a bit of a long watch, I would imagine. But thanks very much for watching, and I think the project's been pretty good. Nothing's really been too much of a challenge. I think it's all pretty standard, most of it cosmetic. I tried my best with it. I think you probably could have spent a bit more money on the various little bits, but I think for what I have spent, I think it's definitely worth every sort of penny I'm going to be asking for it. I'm going to try get around £2,000 for it. Once I get that sorted, then I think we're good to go. But yeah, it's been a decent project. There's not anything I'd want to really change on it now, to be honest. So I think we're pretty much there, which is good news. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the whole thing, and any improvements, any feedback, because this is the first sort of long format video I've done. But if you have any feedback at all, just let me know, and we'll try do it on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye.